The match is tight. Alex is standing on the baseline, waiting for Elena Gabriela Ruse to toss the ball and serve. The crowd is quiet, the way tennis crowds usually are right before a point begins. Everyone's eyes are on the court. Everyone, it seems, except Alex, because in that split second, something else caught her attention, something happening far away from the baseline, up in the stands. A spectator had collapsed. In that moment, plenty of people around the stadium probably had not even noticed yet. Most eyes were still fixed on the baseline, waiting for the ball to be tossed into the air. But Alex was already looking somewhere else, toward the person who needed help, and that split second of awareness ended up mattering more than any point she could have won. Now, most athletes in that position would keep their focus locked on the game. That is what years of training teach you to do. Stay in the moment, stay ready for the next point. But Alex did something different. She raised her hand, not to argue a call, not for any reason connected to the match itself, but to stop play because she had noticed a person in trouble. And in that instant, the score did not matter anymore. For a few seconds, tennis simply stopped being the most important thing happening inside that stadium. The chair umpire took notice. Officials moved toward the stands. Attention shifted away from the players and toward the person who needed help. And Alex just stood there, watching, waiting, making sure the situation was being handled before even thinking about resuming play. It was such a small gesture in terms of time. It probably lasted less than a minute. But sometimes the smallest gestures say the most about a person's character. Think about where Alex was mentally at that point. Every single point in a professional match carries weight. Every service game, every rally, every mental adjustment takes real focus and real discipline. And breaking it, even for a moment, can throw off an athlete's rhythm for the rest of the match. Alex knew that. She had every reason to stay locked in and let someone else deal with what was happening in the stands. Instead, she chose to pause, because a simple truth took priority over everything else. If someone might be in danger, that matters more than any match. This is the part of professional sports that cameras do not always capture and commentators do not always mention. Athletes are not machines that only exist to perform on command. They are people with the same instincts and concerns as anyone else in the crowd. They hear the noise around them. They notice what is happening beyond the lines of the court. And every now and then, life outside the game interrupts the game itself. How an athlete responds in that instant tells you something real about who they are when nobody is grading their performance. Alex could have easily stayed in competition mode. Nobody would have blamed her for it. Play often continues around medical situations while officials handle things quietly. But she chose to actively acknowledge what was happening. She looked toward the crowd, raised her hand, and waited. In a sport where hesitation can cost you a match, she was willing to hesitate for someone she had probably never met. A reminder that behind the rankings and the highlight reels, there is simply a person capable of noticing someone else's pain. For fans back home in the Philippines who follow Alex closely, this is exactly the kind of moment that builds a deeper kind of respect. It is easy to admire an athlete for their forehand, their footwork, or their ability to fight back from a set down. But moments like this earn something different, a sense that the person you are cheering for is someone worth cheering for beyond the scoreline, someone whose values show up even under pressure. Winning matters in professional sports. Rankings, titles, and results shape careers, and athletes work incredibly hard for years to chase them. But every so often, something happens that puts all of that in perspective, something that reminds everyone watching that there are things more important than a scoreline, and a person's well-being is one of them. In that stadium, for those few seconds, Alex made it clear where her priorities stood, without any announcement, statement, or explanation. The raised hand said enough on its own. Moments like this rarely get talked about as much as a big win or a dramatic comeback, but maybe they should. They show the human side of competition, the part that never shows up in a highlight reel, and that compassion still has a place inside the intensity of professional sports. There is also something worth noting about timing. Reacting the right way in a calm setting is one thing. Reacting the right way in the middle of a high-pressure match, with adrenaline running and the crowd's energy pulling focus toward the next point, is something else entirely. Instincts tend to take over in that environment, and for many competitors, the instinct is simply to keep playing, to stay in rhythm, to let someone else handle whatever is happening outside the lines. Alex's instinct led her somewhere different. Her first reaction was to look up, to notice, to make sure the person in the stands was not being overlooked in the middle of a match that thousands of people were watching. Fans often say they want to support athletes who feel real, athletes who feel human rather than distant figures only seen through a screen. Moments like this are exactly why that connection forms, not through trophies or rankings, but through small human choices that show an athlete cares about more than her own success on a given day. At the end of the day, tennis resumed. The match continued. Points were won and lost, and eventually a result was recorded in the books, the way it always is. But for a lot of people watching, that particular result was not the part of the day they remembered most. What stayed with them was a raised hand, a pause in the action, and the reminder that even inside the pressure of elite competition, kindness can still interrupt the game and nobody has to apologize for that. So here's a question worth sitting with for a moment. Did this change how you see Alex Ayala? Did it add something to the respect you already had for her, beyond what she can do with a racket in her hand? Talent gets people noticed, but character is what makes people stay. Drop your thoughts on this moment down in the comments below. Let us know if this changed the way you see her as a competitor and as a person, and if you enjoy stories like this about Alex Ayala, stick around, stay tuned, and stay connected for more updates coming your way soon.